Hi, we're Ariel.
And Michelle, and we're the Board Game Tutors.
Today we're going to be doing advanced concepts for the board game Forbidden Desert, specifically going over all the different gear cards. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
So I said gear cards, but the rule books kind of refer to them as simultaneously as gear/equipment cards. So if we say gear card or if we say equipment card, just take note, this is the same type of card. Obviously they have gears on the back so you can identify them. They have this particular backing. And here is the other side. So obviously this deck will be shuffled, but this is not shuffled, so we can show you all the different types of gear.
So every one of these is a piece of equipment that you can use to help you succeed in finding all of the parts to put together the flying machine so that you can escape from the Forbidden Desert.
And remember in the previous video we explained, so this is one the tile we haven't shown to you yet. It looks like a very forbidding eyeball globe thingy-majig, but it has a gear card symbol on the bottom right corner. So when you excavate this, you would draw the top card of this deck. So that's how you get gear cards.
And you won't know what you're going to draw because they'll be shuffled. But this is one of the things you might get. It's called a Dune Blaster.
You get 3 copies of this in the entire deck. I want to talk about that.
So the Dune Blaster says, remove all sand from your tile or from an adjacent tile. And then all of the equipment or gear cards say at the bottom, play at any time, does not count as an action, discard to box after use. So it says discard to box because you won't be able to use it again. Each of these cards is a one-time use action. And you can do this whenever, so it doesn't have to be your turn. And it doesn't count toward your total actions because it doesn't even have to happen on your turn.
So when you have that tile and you find the gear card symbol in the bottom right, you would draw the top card, look at it, oh, it's a Dune Blaster, put it next to your card. So that way you know, oh, I'm the water carrier, he has the Dune Blaster. Because it's important who's holding a gear card at any given time. So you just want to keep that clear. You don't want to put it in the table in between you and your partner who are playing the game because you're like, wait, did you have this or did I have this? This is kind of crucial information. So yeah, that's that. So let's describe this.
Okay, so when you use the Dune Blaster, most often you'll be using it on a tile that you aren't directly on. Usually in our experience, you'll travel to a tile. You usually want to choose one that has a large stack of sand because this is going to remove all of the sand at once. So you just need to be adjacent. So like in this example, you can see the water carrier is on the tile that's adjacent to the tile that has a large stack of sand.
It has 4, I believe.
So he could use it on the tile he's on to get rid of that one piece of sand, or he could use it to that tile over there to his right.
That's 2.
But the best use of it would be that stack of 4 sand because it's going to get rid of all 4 of those at once if you use it on that tile.
So yeah, like we said, he could use it on any of these, but it's not very efficient to use it on a 1 or a 2, or even a 3, because as you play the game, sand will stack. See what I did there? But basically, sand will stack on a tile and mercilessly pound particular tiles, and that's the best use of your Dune Blaster.
To get rid of a bunch of sand at once.
So if we had this Dune Blaster in our possession, the way we would use it at any time, as Michelle emphasized, would be, so we had this Dune Blaster, we take it, we discard it, put it somewhere. It doesn't have to go back in the box, but somewhere else where you know, oh, that is no longer able to be used, like turn it sideways or something like that, where no one else is. And so to use it, you just grab the sand, if it will cooperate, there we go, and put it to the side of the table.
So the situation in which you would most likely use this for a tile that you are on is if you're on a tile and the storm moves it around and piles sand on the tile while you're still sitting on it, standing on it, then the tile will become blocked and you won't be able to leave until you have cleared all but at least one piece. You can have one piece of sand left, but other than that, you won't be able to leave because if you have 2 or more pieces of sand, it's considered blocked.
So if this tile just got moved around a ton, then yeah, you might want to use it then.
Yeah, if you happen to have the Dune Blaster in your possession, you could use it to get rid of the sand on the tile that you were on.
Obviously, it would be really tedious to do it one by one here because you could only remove 1 at a time. So you'd probably have to use up all your actions and you still couldn't move.
Right.
So that's an example of that. So let's go on to the next gear.
Okay. So this is a jetpack. There are 3 of these in the deck.
I believe it's just 2.
2 of these.
Oh, 3, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I was wrong.
So there are 3 jetpacks total in the deck. And they say, move to any unblocked tile. One other pawn on your starting tile may come along for the ride. And again, it says at the bottom that you can play it at any time. It doesn't count as an action, and you discard to the box after use. So we won't repeat that again because it's on all of the equipment or gear cards.
So, what's an unblocked tile? If it has 2 sand, we've gone over this before, but if it has 2 sand, you cannot go there. So, in this example, you could not go here, here, or there. Everywhere else, though, does not have sand. You could go there. If, for some reason, let's say it was just like that, these 2 would also be eligible because they only have 1 sand. And also, this is really cool. Let's say we're starting over here. Somebody can piggyback for the ride. I guess they grab your foot while you're flying up in the air with this fancy handy-dandy jetpack thing from an ancient civilization. So you can go all the way over here and say, we need some water. Let's go over here using that jetpack, discard that jetpack from next to my character card, and put it to the side. So yeah, that is that.
Okay, so jetpacks are just really useful because they allow you to move really far across the board, and there might be times when you really need to quickly get to a different tile.
Right. But, for example, if we were both trapped on this tile, we could not use this jetpack until we were unblocked because you can't leave.
You're kind of buried in sand.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you have a jetpack, you're still buried in sand. So let me get rid of the 2 extras of the jetpack. So yeah, there's 3 possible that you could come across in the deck.
Next we have Tarascope. Peek under any unexcavated tile. So this is just really helpful for identifying a tile that you may not need to excavate. This will let you know whether you need to go to whichever tile it is that you end up checking. So one good use of this is to look and see if a water tile is really a water tile or is actually a mirage. So, for example, you might play the Tarascope in order to check that one up there.
It's a well.
So then you would know, okay, we can go there and get water. And you can only check 1 tile for each of these Tarascope gear cards, and there are 2 of these in the deck.
And something else that's really important too, this only applies to 1 tile, obviously, and when you flip it over, let's say you wanted to check this one because you're looking for part location clues. That is one. You don't leave it flipped over. It goes back down. So you still have to excavate that tile. You can check under anything. You could check under this one if you really wanted to, because you're like, well, maybe I don't want to waste my effort uncovering this tile because maybe it's just a generic gear card tile.
Right.
So you might want to use it to check for different, check the water to see which one's the mirage. Obviously, if you just did what we did, obviously one of the mirage is either that one up there or this one down here. So it didn't help us figure out which one was a mirage. We just know now that one isn't.
Right. And it helps you narrow down where you can go, where you don't want to bother going, and then hopefully you'll choose the right other tile to check, to go to and check.
So in general, if you can use a Tarascope and you get lucky, you'll find a part location clue, you'll find the launch pad, or maybe you'll find water. If you find a regular old tile that has gear, that's not as exciting because unless you don't know what that tile looks like, and ooh, that's interesting find. But aside from that, it's like, oh, it's just gear. That's not that helpful.
But it also might help you determine, okay, I probably won't go to that tile because it's not what I most need right now.
Right. So, like, for example, if you only have 3 tiles left to flip over, and you flip one over and you find out that's a gear card, okay, well, that's not the part location clue I was looking for.
Right.
Okay, so those are Tarascopes. So obviously you discard this to this pile over here in the box if you want to follow the directions literally after using it. And you don't leave it flipped over. Whatever you peek at, you always flip it back to its desert side.
Right. Okay, then
Also sand doesn't block too.
Right. Okay, so those are the Tarascope cards. Okay, so then we have the Solar Shield. This is really important for protecting you from Sun Beats Down cards in the Storm deck. So this says, you and other pawns on your tile may ignore the effects of Sun Beats Down until the start of your next turn. So this one is really important, like I just said, because it can help protect you. So if you're under the solar shield, then when the sun beats down, you're safe. You don't have to drink water because the sun isn't actually reaching you.
Mm-hmm.
So the best time to play this card would be right after you finish taking your 4 actions and right before you draw cards from the storm deck. So basically after part 1 of the order of play, as you can see here on this card. This way, you'll be protected when you're drawing storm cards at the end of your turn,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be protected when you draw storm cards at the end of your partner's turn, of the other player's turn, because you get to leave it on all the way until your next turn starts.
Right.
And if you're playing with multiple players, because this game can go up to 5 players, then you'll get to keep the solar shield all the way until you start your next turn, which would actually be several rounds of storm cards.
So, one way to help you remember that you're protected from Sun Beats Down cards while the solar shield is in effect, one little tip we have is just put that solar shield on top of you. So that way, if you get a Sun Beats Down card and you forgot that you had the solar shield, as opposed to just keeping it next to you, also this makes it very clear that you're using it. Mm-hmm. So that's another special benefit. But whenever Sun Beats Down, you always lose 1 water on your marker right there. But the solar shield on top covers it, so then when you reach to your marker to lower it, oh wait, I have my solar shield on. Okay, I'm safe. So basically, like Michelle said, best time to play this is after you do your 4 actions, but before you draw storm cards. Then you draw your storm cards, then it's Michelle's turn, for example, and then she would draw her storm, she would take her 4 actions, she would draw her 4 storm cards. We said 4, but obviously it varies depending on what difficulty level the storm track is on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but basically, that way you're protected from the maximum amount of possible Sun Beats Down cards.
Right. And you also can do this in the middle of drawing storm cards. It wouldn't be retroactive. So if you drew a Sun Beats Down card, you couldn't, if you put the solar shield on yourself after drawing that card, it wouldn't protect you from that card that you just turned. However, it would protect you from that point on if any more Sun Beats Down cards were drawn.
So in this example, if we had a Sun Beats Down card, this would go down to 0. You still wouldn't be dead, but you'd be almost dead. And then you realize, okay, well, I just drew 1 storm card. I still have to draw 2 more, possibly, depending on the level. Okay, I'm going to use the solar shield now, so that way I don't die.
Right.
So that's one possible use of the solar shield.
And keep in mind, it works for you and for other pawns on your tile. So if at any point while you have the solar shield over you until your next turn, if at any point another player is on the tile with you, they also are not affected by Sun Beats Down cards.
So, for example, let's say I was a water carrier and I was alone. Michelle wanted to join me. Well, this wouldn't work in this example. Let's just put me here. Because Michelle couldn't get to me if I was all buried. But if Michelle wanted to share in my solar shield benefit, then she would, gear card, that is, she would join me in the same tile that I'm on.
Right. So then we would both be protected as long as we were both on that tile with the solar shield in effect.
Mm-hmm. So there are 2 copies of Tarascope and 2 copies of Solar Shield. So they're not quite as plentiful as Dune Blasters and Jetpacks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then we have the Time Throttle. There's just 1 copy of the Time Throttle. Mm-hmm. It's very helpful. Take 2 more actions during a turn. This one is specifically to be played on your turn, so that makes it different from the other gear cards. So you play this on the turn that you want to use it, and you get to take 2 additional actions. So that would be choosing from any of your regular actions. You could move or excavate, which is to flip a tile. You could clear sand, or you could pick up a part.
Right.
Yeah, all those actions there.
Mm-hmm. And also remember, giving water to other people on your same tile and passing equipment cards to people on the same tile is free. So that does not count as an action.
Mm-hmm.
So this gives you 6. So pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. And like we said, play on your turn.
Yep.
Okay, 1 copy of that. Last card.
Secret Water Reserve. All players on your tile receive 2 water. It seems like we've often found that this was on the bottom of our deck, so in that case it didn't help us. But aside from that, this can really help you because, as we've said before, if you run out of water, you die, and that is something that happens very often here, which makes sense because it's the desert. So you especially would want to try to use this when other players have their pawns on your tile, because it's all players on your tile receive 2 water. So it will provide the most water if there are more players on the tile. But in any case, you will get 2 water when you play this card.
I hate to think about how old this water must be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably hundreds, thousands of years old.
And apparently it needs a key to open, but I guess having the card is good enough.
You must have the key. Or maybe you drink out of the keyhole. Maybe that's what the key is.
Maybe so.
Anyway.
So you can play this card at any time. So it doesn't have to be your turn. If you are in possession of it, you can go ahead and play it. And yeah.
So this is really important because as opposed to using a well, which only works once, you can only excavate a well once to get water from it, if you're any regular character. So basically, this is the only other way you can get water.
Yeah, so that's really important for helping you not lose the game.
And like Michelle said, using it when other people are on the same tile as you is the best optimization of the secret water reserve. So there's one last thing that we wanted to cover, and that's specifically right here. This little bold text on the bottom of the card.
So, as we said before, you may also give water and pass equipment cards to others on your tile for free at any time. So keep this in mind when it comes to these equipment cards. You can go to the same tile as the other player, and then you can immediately give them whichever card you have that you want to give them. So that doesn't count as an action.
So it's a smart idea whenever you grab a gear card from a tile to keep it next to your card, maybe just like right there, so that way you know it's yours. And so if you see right here, Michelle and I are sharing a spot, a tile. So at this point, if I wanted to, Michelle could ask me, or I could offer. I could say, do you want this Tarascope? She says yes. I put it with her card. So now she is in possession of said Tarascope, or Dune Blaster, or Jetpack. It's, yeah, totally up to you. And so in particular combinations, especially once we cover in the next video all the special powers that each individual character has, passing equipment and whatnot is a very important skill to make use of. And so this only works when you share a tile.
All right.
So that was everything. Those are all the gear cards in Forbidden Desert.
All right, thanks so much for watching this video. We really appreciate any comments, or if you have any questions or clarifications to leave in the comments, any likes that you want to give us, if you want to share this video, and feel free, if you enjoyed this video and would like to get regular updates from us, to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, The Board Game Tutors. You can also find us on BoardGameGeek.com, and our username there is The Board Game Tutors, one word. And yeah. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, where we're going to be discussing all the different character cards, character people in the game Forbidden Desert. All right, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.